Shadow President Elon Musk has made the suggestion that, you know what we should do? We should just completely ignore all the laws and federal regulations. I'm not kidding. Regulations are laws, by the way. Now, this was during a public call shortly after midnight on Monday morning, where Musk called for the wholesale removal of regulations. Quote, regulations basically should be default gone. Not default there, default gone. Oh, and if it turns out if we missed the mark on a regulation, we can always add it back in. Right. The idea that they would ever add a regulation back in after removing one is laughable. No, they'd never do that. But again, it would be laughable, but the implications are incredibly serious. We'll get to that in a minute. But he continues. He said, these regulations are added willy-nilly all the time. No, they're usually added after a need is shown. Okay. After an accident or a crisis. But anyway, he says, so we've got to do a wholesale spring cleaning of regulation and get the government off the backs of everyday Americans so people can get things done. He added later, if the government has millions of regulations holding everyone back, it's not freedom. We've got to restore freedom. Now, look, I'm an everyday American. I can't think of any regulations that are holding me down. I'm not near wealthy. Okay. So I got to ask, what everyday average person is being crushed by regulation? I can't think of one. But you know who is affected by regulations? Rich people, corporate CEOs like himself. Now, I would say that Elon Musk is nowhere near a average, regular, everyday working person. I mean, he's literally the wealthiest man in the world. Okay, what does Elon Musk know about the experiences of everyday Americans? He doesn't know any. Again, I'm an everyday American. I do normal things. I go grocery shopping. I work at my house when I have, when I have the ability, when I have the time, when I can afford it. Okay, when we're not dealing with freaking trade wars that are hiking up the cost of lumber. Okay, I mean, yeah, the only thing that makes me not average is that I pay an inordinate amount of attention to politics and then give my opinion on it on camera. I'm not going on ketamine binges and paying people to play Path of Exile 2 for me, all right? Which explains why I'm still not max level. So, hey, I'm doing my best, okay? Doing my best. I don't have infinite time here. I should do after work. I'm also not a special government employee or worker that's been trying to do a hostile takeover of our democracy and kill regulations. I can't just go and buy Twitter and turn it into a propaganda arm for the Republican Party, for fascists. Okay? I can't do any of that stuff. All right? Look, and part of apparently why he wants to do these takeovers is so he could kill regulations that cost him a little bit of extra money. That's it. Regulations, by the way, they're just rules. They're rules that prevent companies from taking advantage of their workers, poisoning the environment, or just killing their workforce. Okay? There are safety rules that are in place meant to try to prevent workers from dying on the job. And he wants to undo all of those. In fact, they're talking about in this meeting how, this is our chance. This is our chance. So this was with Vivek Ramaswamy and a couple of senators. Now, Ramaswamy, who's also on the call, said this: I think it's possible now. It's actually possible, thanks to Trump's second term and a conservative-dominated Supreme Court. You understand that they were waiting for this moment to completely try to undo all regulations. And now they're going to try it. Joni Ernst, who's a senator. I'm sorry, let me get to Musk first, where he said, if it's not possible now, it'll never be possible. This is our shot. This is the best hand of cards we're ever going to have. And if we don't take advantage of this best hand of cards, it's never going to happen. So we're going to do it. To which Joni Ernst of Iowa said, now or never. Understand that this has been the goal the whole time. Okay, to get in a position of power, so they could just completely undo the rules on themselves. Rules that, might prevent them from being just a little bit richer. Okay? Rules that prevent them from completely taking advantage of their workforce. I mean, yeah, there it is. There it is. Musk would personally benefit from the ability to pick and choose any regulations that he wants to follow. And that would make him so much money. So much money. I mean, does he really care if we would end up having another triangle shirtwaist fire that kills hundreds of workers? No, it doesn't matter to him. It doesn't matter to him. No. I mean, do you remember? Well, you don't, right? Because we've lived with regulations, but before the time where we had these regulations, it was common practice for employees, right, to deal with locked doors on stairwells and exits. Why would they have to deal with these locked doors? The employers would lock them. Why? In order to prevent these workers from taking any unauthorized breaks and to reduce theft. So, we got some, we got to maximize productivity. And we're sure some of these people are stealing from us. So we're just going to lock all the doors and the exits. And, hey, if there's a fire or something like that, well, there was a fire. And as a result, workers at that factory, Triangle Shirtwaist, could not escape from the burning building. They end up either burning to death, suffocating, or dying from jumping from the high windows. Okay? But surely, of course, they would have sprinkler systems, right? No, they didn't have sprinkler systems. There were no fire regulations. So these companies weren't required to have any sprinklers. None in the building. No fire suppression measures whatsoever. Understand that I'm telling you this because this is what Elon Musk and his friends want to take us back to the Gilded Age, where corporations had all the power, the wealthy had all the power, and workers had none. Our lives were literally at the mercy of these corporations. You didn't have unions, you didn't have worker protections, you didn't even have child labor laws back then. Oh, guess what Republicans have been trying to do in the States? Roll back child labor laws. Okay? Go after unions. Okay? One of the biggest unions, the Deemsters, okay, defanged. That's what one of the one of the first acts of the Trump administration was to reduce their power, okay, and the power of all these unions. So much for being pro-worker, right? There was no laws back then stopping, these companies from polluting the rivers, the air, and the food that we eat. Okay, they would put sawdust and literal animal feces into the food, kind of fluff it up, right? I mean, understand that what's going on right now would be a complete rollback of society to the Gilded Age, which was a time of great corruption and massive concentration of wealth at the top. I thought Trump said he was going to get rid of the corruption. He's going to drain the swamp. No, he's going to drain the swamp right into his pocket. Okay? And he's going to allow, essentially, the swamp, which is the corporate interests, to take over. And back then, by the way, you had huge wealth concentrations, even more so than you had right now, which is already bad enough. From 1860 to 1900, the wealthiest 2% of American households owned more than a third of the nation's wealth, while the top 10% owned roughly 3/4 of it. The bottom 40% had no wealth at all. In terms of property, the wealthiest 1% owned 51%, while the bottom 44% owned 1.1%. As far as worker protections, American industry had the highest rate of accidents in the world. In 1889, railroads employed 704,000 men, of whom 20,000 were injured, and 1,972 were killed on the job. The U.S. was also the only industrial power to have no workers' compensation program there to support injured workers. So you get injured at work, you get nothing, and then lose your job, and then lose your ability to survive, to feed yourself, because there were no, social safety nets back then. Now, what do you think Musk is going to do with those? Those social safety nets are going to be absolutely shredded. Musk has the payment system. His allies, Doge, they're looking for savings, looking for things to cut. What do you think they're going to go after? Military spending or food stamps? No, we are speeding towards the Gilded Age right now with Donald Trump's blessing. And Congress is literally doing absolutely nothing to stop this massive corporate Musk takeover of our entire economy and a rollback of every piece of pro-worker legislation and every workers' safety regulation that has been passed since then. We are barreling backwards to the past. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, subscribe, hit the bell icon in order to get notified whenever a new video is released. And if you want to support independent, progressive media through this difficult time where it seems like everybody is shutting down, you can become a member on our YouTube page, you can become a subscriber on Facebook, or you can go to my Patreon. It's patreon.com/Jeff Waldorf. Thank you.